This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites. A no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better host, or if you're looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month absolutely free. And now, enjoy the show.
This is Jackson Riker with WWE, a member of the Forgotten Sons, and you are listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast, our Money in the Bank recap show. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And yes, Nick, we are just minutes removed from the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which was surprisingly short. We wanted to time this, like when we were going to do this live stream, this recap episode for the pay-per-view, and we are like an hour and something before when we thought we were. This was like 2.5 hours, 3.5 with pre-show. This was a very short WWE pay-per-view, and they actually still packed in a lot of stuff. We had the corporate ladder Money in the Bank, which was a pre-shot match where all of the superstars climbed, supposedly, the Titan Towers building, WWE's corporate headquarters. We also had a couple of title matches. Overall, a pretty breezy pay-per-view, and one that we're about to go through and really dissect right now, Nick. But let's do a little housekeeping before we get into it.
Yes, guys, and very quickly, bwopodcast.com is where you can find links to everything, as well as the description below if you're watching here on YouTube. All of our links for everything are down below. But come join us in Facebook. Just search for Busted Wide Open over there. Like our page, send us a join request to get into our discussion group with the rest of the phenomenal ones over there. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. Subscribe to us here on YouTube at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Make sure you turn your notifications on too, because we put up live things so you get notified whenever we do go live on our typical schedule of Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, as well as our patron mailbag AMA episodes that we do. But to get your questions in for that, you have to be over at patreon.com/BWO. Just that $5 tier gets you the ability every single week to send in a question that we ask on that dedicated patron mailbag series. Also available right here at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Ian, I got to say that my expectations were mixed on this show overall, but let's get into it. Let's head over and break down what went down on Money in the Bank.
Nick's favorite pay-per-view of the year, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Nick's favorite pay-per-view of the year. And it started off on the pre-show with a surprise match that was announced yesterday. Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. Kind of thrown together because Cesaro and Sheamus are still kayfabe, former tag team partners, and Jeff's been having some beef with Sheamus, so yeah, they're okay. They kind of have some beef, and Jeff's got to get back on the horse, and all right, so we had a match. I gotta say, Nick, this match was longer, better, more intense, better worked than I expected.
Tenfold.
Or anticipate.
Yes.
Then on a pre-show match, this is more than I expected.
Oh, well, first of all, I was expecting the whole MVPR Truth thing that came out of nowhere to be on the pre-show. So the fact that this was kind of already threw me for a loop. But, I mean, this match, is, as well as some of the other ones, over-delivered, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting this much out of it, but it was two stiff guys putting on a hell of a match. I really enjoyed it.
That's it. Yeah, and it was, it was Jeff taking a lot of punishment. Obviously, most of his career has been built on being an underdog. And this was no different. Cesaro, basically had an answer for everything of his, beat him up pillar to post. And then Jeff just underdogged up, manned up, hit him with a whole bunch of big moves, and at the end, Swanton bomb and Cesaro went down. I have no problems with this all around. Jeff needed a good win coming back. He needed to show that he could, he still had what it takes, if you will. It was a good way to lead into the Sheamus storyline. It was innocuous. It was there, and it was an entertaining match. So perfect pre-show fodder, I thought. I really had no problem with it. The good guy won on the pre-show, so we're hyped for the show. Yeah.
Nice.
Not much more to say about this except, all right, they threw it at us last minute. We were shocked by it. It didn't seem to make much sense, but in hindsight, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
That was fine.
It was fine. It was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this match.
Yeah. Yeah. That was it. And we both picked Jeff to win, so that's also good. In fact, we picked most of the same thing on this show, Nick. In fact, we picked the winners of the next match, the first match on the show, the SmackDown Tag Team Title Fatal 4-Way match between the Forgotten Sons, Miz and Morrison, New Day, and the Lucha House Party. It was a fun match, Nick, but did you think it was essentially a jumped up TV match, like a jumped up SmackDown match?
Yeah, because if you listen to our show yesterday, that's what I said. You ruined it by having that 8-man tag match on SmackDown Friday night. Like that.
Do you think that's what did it, or they just didn't?
You took a lot of the hype away from it. Like you gave us the candy before Christmas morning. It's like we got to open all of our presents before Christmas, and then Christmas comes, and you're like, well, now we ain't got shit to do. So that's my take on it. I didn't hate this. I don't like that it pulled the curtain on the show. I think you could have done something. You could have rearranged things a little bit better. I would have swapped this match with the
what?
Tamina Bailey match. I would have opened with Tamina Bailey.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And had a heel win, and then I think that match was right where it was supposed to be.
Wow.
We'll talk about that. I thought that match was a dud.
It was a dud. I wanted to get out of the way.
That's what I'm saying. This was not. This was an exciting, entertaining match, but I agree with you. I think that they blew a lot of their shots and their spots on SmackDown. The only major spot I can remember in this that really blew my mind was that top rope Spanish fly to the outside with Grand Metalik and John Morrison onto the pile of guys outside. That was nuts.
I remember the double finishing move at the very end of the match to seal the deal on it with the Trouble in Paradise in the big ending, and New Day comes out winning. So there were a lot of spots in here that were interesting. The Spanish fly you mentioned, Jackson getting removed from the match for some reason in a no DQ fatal 4-way. You're gonna remove.
You can still be removed.
I mean,
it's not disqualification.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of a? Anyway, I'm not gonna get up on that soapbox, but I was just like, that's a bit much, guys. Come on.
Referee's discretion, Nick.
Sure,
referee's discretion.
Sure.
The bottom line is that at the end of the day, yeah, Jackson was taken out, so the advantage was gone for Forgotten Sons. They and Miz and Morrison were taken out by Lucha House Party, who, as you said, ate the combo finisher from New Day. But kind of what we were saying, like there was not that much memorable about this match to separate it from any other matches we've seen, on SmackDown from these guys. And that's the unfortunate thing about throwing too much out there before the actual pay-per-view is now the pay-per-view comes along and we're like, well, we've kind of already seen this.
Yep.
And that was the big drawback from this match, which was otherwise a really well-worked, exciting match. Yeah. So that was a fairly big drawback. And also it was a little underwhelming because the titles didn't change hands. So it was kind of like, all right, so we saw essentially a TV quality match and the status quo is retained.
Yeah. The only thing that really stood out to me now that I've seen the whole show is where were the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders? Like, weren't they supposed to defend their titles? Oh.
Yeah, but didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Okay.
I mean, they had room. They could have made it a 3-hour pay-per-view and had that match.
Sure.
But didn't happen. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. And there was a story to tell there, and not so much for some of the other stuff that did get on the show. So, yeah, very odd.
Nothing controversial. New Day retained. We both picked that yesterday, so nothing to see here, really.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Real quick shout out in the super chat. Line Drive. Kyle says for $4.99. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He says the tag match felt like the old cruiserweight title matches from the mid 2000s in terms of how it was put together. Good match, but meh. Not entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Not a whole. I mean, it was. We got more stakes because they've made the tag team titles on SmackDown feel like they're a bigger deal, but at the same time, yeah, they not enough real build here. And then the build that they did have, as you say, Nick, they kind of undercut it by giving us a tag match on Friday, which was almost this anyway.
Yep.
So kind of a pity.
Yep.
We both picked New Day to win, but we had no idea what was going to happen in the next match, which was another random one. R-Truth versus MVP, also thrown at us yesterday. Nick, we did not see this one coming at all, and we had no idea what to expect or why it even existed. And R-Truth came out doing his whole usual routine, the entire song, playing to the crowd, which wasn't there, but he acted like they were, which of course
He can get away with that.
That's because it's brilliant.
Yes.
When he does it, you're sitting there going, "Who are you playing to?" There's no one. Oh, you're R-Truth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You actually
right,
think they're
right,
yeah.
right, right.
You think they're there. Got it. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then MVP came out and they had a little back and forth about who's balling, and R-Truth said, "No, I'd teach you how to ball," and started doing this thing with 3 points, balling. And MVP at a certain point got fed up with him, and out came Bobby Lashley. To all of our surprise, we're like, "What? What is Bobby Lashley doing in the Impact Zone?" Well, he was coming out there because MVP said, "I'm not going to fight you tonight, R-Truth. I'm kind of annoyed by you, but my boy Lashley is. I'm subbing him in." And R-Truth is kind of looking around like, "What? Wait, can I get the night off? Anybody? Somebody? No? Oh, shit." And Bobby Lashley was pissed off and decided to take it out on R-Truth after R-Truth accidentally slapped him. Not the best thing you want to do to a pissed off Bobby Lashley who's having marriage problems. And as you would expect after that, Bobby Lashley destroyed poor R-Truth.
He was later seen cutting or having a backstage interview with Charlie Caruso, I believe it was, saying that he mostly missed his baby.
Now, I want to get into that in a second, Nick. I don't want to talk about that just yet. Let's stick to the match real quick.
All right.
So I want to say, you and I both kind of crapped on this for existing.
Yep.
Initially, we're like, what? Why? You've got, as we said, Street Profits and Viking Raiders, which has a story. Why are we doing this match? Now that they actually made this match not about MVP and R-Truth, they showed that MVP is like pulling strings behind the scenes. They gave Lashley something to do. We got more story with Lashley about how he's mad. Corey saying the only thing stopping Lashley is Lashley. If it wasn't for that, he'd be at the top of the pile. What do you think Lashley's trajectory is here? What are they setting him up for? Because he's been on, they're giving him stuff to do. They found a reason to put him on this pay-per-view. Do you see that as significant?
I see it as a teaser to just give him a chance to do something else, but it's R-Truth, but he's getting a shot at a pay-per-view. Is this any indication of, is he going to go for the U.S. title? Is he going to go for the Intercontinental title still held by Sammy? So I don't.
Is he going to go for the WWE Championship held by Drew McIntyre, a guy that Lashley can look intimidating next to?
That could work.
Which is what my thought was are they building up Lashley to be in title contention? He's a threat. Once he gets over himself, no one can stop him. That was the line. So that made me kind of scratch my head. Why are we paying attention to Lashley right now? And R-Truth was there, I think, just to provide entertainment, to be funny, to be fun. And he was very, this was an entertaining segment. So now in hindsight, again, we see what their intentions were here. Lashley has a trajectory that he's on. And as you were saying, Nick, R-Truth was interviewed later in the show, and he said he has to go find his baby. And he's not going to rest until the 24/7, 7-Eleven, I-95 South,
1492, Christopher
Columbus Sail the Ocean Blue title is wrapped back around his waist. So he's going to go get himself some Tom Brady and sack him some Tom Brady.
Tom Brady doesn't have the 24/7 championship, Ian.
No, Rob Gronkowski does. But now my interest is very piqued because you've got R-Truth back on the hunt for the 24/7 championship as we're getting close to preseason, to training camp.
Yeah, OTAs soon.
For the Bucks. So you have my attention. Are we going to have R-Truth running wild at training camp? Is that the intention here? Is that what we're going for? Is that the other reason why we have this match on this pay-per-view, to set up R-Truth going to training camp?
Sure.
Just saying.
Yeah. Line drive again with $1.99 in the super chat. Tom Brady, we coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You're doing a little Booker T there.
Yeah. Shooky dookie.
Woo-wee. So this was a wash. Neither of us got this pick, and so we didn't see this coming at all.
No.
So we'll declare this a wash. But We did see what was coming in the next match, and I think that was the big drawback of it. Tamina versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship was about as paint by the numbers as you could possibly get.
What did you guys expect this to be? On paper, even, it's boring. It's miserable. Neither of these women had. There's more charisma in this garbage bag tie than either of these women combined. So I don't know what we expected this match to be.
It's funny because with the three of them, with Sasha, Bayley, and Tamina all standing around, and it doesn't help that Sasha was wearing some sort of crazy vinyl number that she picked up at a sex shop somewhere, but you couldn't take your eyes off of Sasha. Meanwhile, Tamina and Bayley kind of fade into the background next to her. And that's just her presence. And unfortunately, by having all three women in the same place, that's a little bit more apparent. The only one you are really kind of watching is Sasha. And that's not to say that Bayley and Tamina didn't do good work here. I thought it was a satisfactorily worked match. There's nothing I saw that jumped out at me that was outright bad. It just was, I hate to use the term, boring.
Yeah, but this is a pay-per-view match. It's a championship defense that is preceding two pretty hyped other championship defenses. And I'm sitting here going, that's why I said at the beginning, I would have put this earlier on to get past it, hype everybody back up with the four-way tag match, have a little break match with R-Truth and Lashley, and then go into the two big matches. Because this was a snooze fest.
To me, this was in the right place of the show. It was in the middle of the show where someone could take a little nap and then come back strong for the end. You know, so, and that's kind of what that's kind of what this was, in my opinion. But the problem was there was also weird stuff, like there was these comedy spots. You know, most of this was Bayley on the offense and then splashing water in Tamina's face, pissing her off, and then you have Tamina dominating until the ending where Sasha distracts Tamina, of course, and then Bayley gets the roll up for the win. But there was some points where there was these weird comedy spots. Bayley trying to Samoan drop Tamina and falling on her face because Tamina's just too heavy.
Yeah.
Which made Bayley look like a fool.
Right.
And then outside Bayley for calling for timeout, which, okay, yes, I understand it's a heel thing, but
I saw Bayley, it as begging off. You know, it's just no different than that.
Yeah, it's begging off, but then you have the commentary saying that it's wrestling Bayley, there's no timeouts. Like it's making Bayley look like an idiot.
Yep.
And if that's the intention, turn the ship into it, because that might give her something to work with.
Yeah.
Right now, she's just kind of in the middle of all these different things, and she's not a vicious heel. She's not a smarmy heel. She's kind of a snarky heel, but not really. She's just kind of there.
Yeah. No identity.
Not really.
Nope.
You know, and I mean, we were even saying with her doing the whole I'm a role model thing. Well, Britt Baker's doing that better. So, yeah, Bayley's not exciting. Tamina has never really been exciting, and I don't want to trash Tamina because I respect the hell out of her and the things she's done in her life. But at the same time, like, this is the wrong position for her.
Yeah.
I'm glad she got a title match, like, you know, stepping away from all this. Like, good for her. But this just didn't deliver.
No.
This wasn't that exciting.
Esme with $3 in the super chat says best part of the match was the Discord. Thank you, Esme.
Agreed.
We try to tell everybody, come get in the Discord. It's the place to be. It's where all the action happens. Thank you very much, Esme.
Absolutely. So we both called Bayley to win here.
Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. Now, this thing's got interesting here right off the bat because Bray Wyatt came out as Mr. Rogers Bray.
So you were expecting the Fiend. I was not.
You expected Sweater Bray.
Yes.
I did not.
Okay.
I expected Fiend. I expected Bray to come out. I thought WWE was going to fast track this, get the title back on Bray. Let's just get this over with. Braun was transitional. As soon as Bray came out in the sweater, I went, oh no, we're doing something completely different here. And sure enough, they are. They're telling a very different story, and I like the story that they're telling.
Good.
Like you and I both said there's not enough story between Bray and Braun yet. We haven't established enough. And one of the things we were begging for out of this match was extend this story. Give us more to this. And they did. They had Bray coming out as Mr. Rogers. At first, we didn't know what his intentions were. He was being very friendly towards Braun, being very happy-go-lucky. And as the match went on and Braun started getting more aggressive on him, he started getting more aggressive on Braun, and he, frankly, Nick, this was the most bizarre thing about it. Mr. Rogers Bray toe-to-toed Braun. In fact, I'd say he was like nearly Braun's equal in the physical booking of this match.
Well, don't forget he did that with
bizarre.
Daniel Bryan earlier this year too, or was it end of last year? Afterward, he came out and had a match as Sweater Bray, ended up going under and getting the mallet, the giant toy mallet. So he's done this before, and he did it with Daniel Bryan and beat him.
He has.
So I was expecting Sweater Bray. What I was unsure about is whether or not they were gonna have him mandible claw him and put him down. But I like what they did here. I think it's fantastic. This is exactly what I was complaining about. There's more to this that they could build around, more story to tell. Absolutely loved what they did here to give it more life.
And what I thought was the best part about it was at a certain point, they established that Bray and Braun are somewhat on the same physical level, which is surprising because Braun has always been built up as a monster. So that I thought was interesting booking, not entirely consistent. I don't know. I thought maybe you could have had Sweater Bray, take a little bit more damage, and I don't know. That seemed a little weird. But the part of the match where the story really picked up was Braun gets kicked to the outside, but he pops back up slowly wearing the black sheep mask, and Bray's demeanor completely changes. And Braun gets back in, rips off his shirt very slowly, and is kind of, goes and does the old Wyatt family pose, and Bray is ecstatic.
Yeah.
He's, oh my God, thank you. I told you he's coming back. All the puppets are there ringside, and they're all saying, oh, hooray, Bray, you did it. The black sheep's coming back. Braun's coming home. And then Braun takes off the mask and steps on it, and Bray looks like he's heartbroken. What are you doing? I thought, and then as he goes to attack Braun, he's so shook, Braun gets him in the power slam, and slams him down. So, and beats him 1, 2, 3. So you've established that, one, Braun's not a dummy, which was a huge point to make.
Right.
Braun's not stupid here. He knows what Bray wants. He psyched out Bray Wyatt, a guy who on the pre-show, they were talking about how Bray is a master manipulator of the mind. But here's Braun out manipulating him.
Yeah.
Here's Braun outsmarting him. And here's Bray also showing that he's not here to kick Braun's ass. This was all about genuinely trying to bring Braun back into his circle. He genuinely wanted him back. He's not mad at him. He's disappointed, but he's not mad. He wants him back. Here's the thing, though. Now he's mad. And now we can go into the next stage of this feud. Yep. And now he can say, all right, I gave you every chance. Now you're dead.
Now we got a couple 3 months till SummerSlam. Let's continue to build and tell this story. Let Bray go nuts building and telling this story arc. And we end up having The Fiend and Braun. It ends up unleashing The Fiend at SummerSlam. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is fantastic. I think this feud should absolutely be saved as a finale for one of the big four.
And it's good that they didn't bring out The Fiend right away, because now they've established why Bray's going to bring out The Fiend next. They had him in the corner afterwards, and the Fiend kind of, it pops in. Yeah. The little static thing pops in. The Fiend. Okay, well, now there's a reason for The Fiend to show up. Yep. Like I tried to keep him away from you, Braun. I gave you every chance, but now you're going to get The Fiend.
Yep.
So awesome.
Andy with $5 in the super chat says, finally they made Braun look intelligent and able to outsmart people.
Yes.
Finally.
Yep. Good. Great. Finally. He's not a big dummy. This is the best thing that you could have done for that guy, is make him look like he's not stupid. He's not just a gimmick. He's not just a big special attraction. And it's going to make the story mean a lot more if Bray is going against someone who knows him well enough to be able to outsmart him like this. Yeah. So I thought that the only thing about this was, man, if you haven't watched anything before this with these two guys, this match would have made no sense and probably would have sucked. But I think in context, it was quite good. Yeah.
Kyle says, $5 in the super chat. How do we bridge this feud to SummerSlam? SmackDown main event scene is rather weak. Look, they can. They absolutely can. Whether or not they will is interesting. Because, if we're looking at SummerSlam, it's August. We're still 3-ish months away.
Yep.
That is a long time in WWE terms.
What they say in any story writing class or screenwriting is find your goal.
Yeah.
and then create obstacles to that goal.
Work
So if our
backwards.
goal is Fiend beats Braun at some point, work backwards. How much time do you have to fill? What are the obstacles to that? What obstacles can you throw in the path of that? Create those obstacles and use that to fill time.
As we said, Braun versus Ramblin' Rabbit falls count anywhere.
Sure. I don't know. Maybe not. Poor Ramblin' Rabbit. Come on, he's never going to get pinned. He always gets back up.
Yeah.
So you got that one, Nick. We said who's going to come out holding the championship. I was being pessimistic. I was being negative. I said they're just going to put it back on Bray. It's WWE, or I was having a bad day or something. And I said I'd be ecstatic if I was wrong. And you know what, Nick? I'm ecstatic. It stayed on Braun. You were correct. And moving on,
and
we had our
you
other
the whole pay-per-view.
Cost me the whole. I would rather have the whole pay-per-view and the pick'ems be cost on something that I'm happy I was wrong about.
Agreed.
Nick.
There's a lot to be happy about from this point forward. So yeah, I love it.
Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. This was, I think, about as note perfect as you could want for this match.
Yeah.
We got a little distracted at first in the chat. We found out about Del Rio and all the stuff that he just got arrested for, and got a little bit distracted. But that was in the point of the match where they were still building up the intensity. By the end of the match, it was very exciting. It was very competitive. Seth had been taking out Drew's arm and his leg, and Seth was just trying to survive the big man, and Drew ultimately hit him with a Glasgow kiss and a big old Claymore, and that was it. Drew kicked out of a stomp. He kicked out of a superplex Phoenix Arrow combination.
Falcon Arrow.
He was kicking out Falcon Arrow. Excuse me. What did I say? Phoenix?
Yeah.
I was getting it.
You're thinking Phoenix Splash.
Phoenix Splash. Falcon Arrow.
And it looked like Seth tweaked his back. Working into the story of the match a little bit, just selling that Drew was of such large stature, trying to do that suplex press to get him up in for the Falcon Arrow, just tweaked his back of some, because he came up like holding his back. And
Nick, there was two guys tonight that scared the crap out of me because they just sold an injury too well.
Who's that?
Seth and Cesaro. Jeff Hardy, in a whisper in a wind, I believe, came down on Cesaro's leg weird, and he came up and immediately was clutching his leg, took off his knee brace, or his knee covering, and was like checking his knee and was limping for a little bit, and then finished the match. That scared the crap out of me. And then Seth grabbing at his lower back immediately after doing the Falcon Arrow also scared the crap out of me. I'm hoping that was just really good selling and both guys were fine, because that scared the absolute crap out of me, both of these guys. So fingers crossed, guys. Yeah. But okay, the other thing we got to talk about here, let's talk about the match in a second. Seth came out to new music, Nick. He's got new, not quite as pop the crowd, more messianic kind of music going on. What did you think of his music?
I was immediately reminded of Cesaro's generic entrance music.
No, really?
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan. Is it a good concept? A prototype that they could build on? Sure. But I see where they're going. They're going for gospel sort of big church hall kind of feel to the sound of it. Bring some, have a chorus or something like that.
Yeah.
Gregorian chants or something. I don't know. Just it needs.
I'll tell you,
enhancement.
It needs a lot. It needs a lot more pepper on it, and it's the right idea.
Yeah.
I think that it would totally work, but I agree with you. It needs a lot more pepper. Especially you listen to Drew McIntyre's theme right after it. The drums hit harder. The everything sounds crisper. Seth sounds like something someone just did on GarageBand last week.
Right.
It's not mastered correctly. It's not mixed properly. It's a little flat. The synth strings are flabby. It doesn't sound quite right, but it's the right idea. And if they peppered it up a little bit, as you said, get some real strings, get like a lot more layers to it, get some singing, make the drums hit harder. That could be a really great entrance song for him with this new character. And it's the right idea to not have him coming out with Burn It Down, because that pops a crowd. That sounds exciting. And it's not who he is anymore.
Very facey thing to do.
Yeah. So I think this is the right direction, but they're not gonna.
No.
But they definitely have to work on that entrance music, how it sounds, to get it to sound a little.
Not a fan as it stands right now.
I don't. No. Bright idea. A little more work.
The Tron looks nice, though. I'll give him that. That's for sure.
The Tron looks fantastic.
Andy Jessup with $5 in the super chat says his music needs to be done on an old pipe organ on the forefront. Yep, that's exactly.
Oh, dude,
exactly.
Do like Jericho had with the gospel singers coming out and
singing Judas.
Yeah, with the pipe organ. Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah, good call, Andy, and thank you. So here's the other thing we got to talk about. First of all, as we said, great, well-worked match, exciting, just what you want a title match to be. Both these guys are at the top of their game right now, and they showed it with this match. Just great all around. Match of the night, I thought, of the actual straight-up matches.
Sure.
But at the end, Seth looks very defeated. Of course, before this, he had been, 100%. He was like, I know I'm right. I'm the leader here. I need to take this off of Drew. At the end, Drew goes up to him and shakes his hand, and Seth shakes his hand back and is just left looking stunned in the ring while Drew walks away victorious. What did you take away from that? And also the other thing in the match where Seth went to bring a chair into the ring, the ref told him no, and Seth thought about it and didn't do it. What are you seeing coming for Seth? Is he going to look back on this and saying, I was being too nice and change, or what were those moments about, Nick, for you?
Him battling with going back to his old ways and then being the leader and trying to, lead people into the future of WWE. And, he had this whole thing leading up to this match for a month talking about how he's a bigger leader, he's a stronger leader, all this stuff. So I think it's an internal battle he's having where he knows how to win, but he's learning that he can't win without cheating. And it's kind of this internal battle that he's having. And this is one of those things. And then at the end of the match, Glasgow Kiss, Claymore, 1, 2, 3, Drew wins, and he stands up and goes, a real leader would shake my hand. Mm-hmm. And so he gives him the most limpest of noodly handshakes at the end. And I'm sitting there. What I'm reading into this with Seth is that he's very confused right now because he's used to winning matches. He's used to doing a lot of things differently, and he's finding out that he can't win on his own without Buddy, without AOP, without his backup. And he's also finding out that he's maybe not as strong of a leader as he thought. So are we seeing this sort of decline and descent maybe into some level of madness?
And that's the thing is that would be my logical next step. He's already kind of crazy. Like the amount of conviction that he's throwing into his speeches and everything is no blinking speeches that he's doing now. The amount of conviction he's throwing in, as you said, Nick, at the end, he was like, oh crap, I was wrong. He was so sure of himself.
Yep.
What happens when someone who's that sure of themselves has their reality twisted? Sometimes their mind breaks. And you have a guy who's, before he was saying, well, I'm going to lead with the open hand and bring people to me. Now I'm going to rule with a closed fist. Where once I was going to reap, or once I was going to sow, now I'm going to reap, right? I'm going to burn the fields. So I wonder if that's the next level, that's the next stage in Seth's character evolution is, I tried to be nice, and y'all wouldn't let me be nice. So I'm very curious to see where they go next, because that was an interesting moment that kind of popped out for me.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Yes. Yeah. I want Seth Rollins to fall off the freaking deep end. I want him to hit rock bottom. And I think this is one of the first steps of him just beginning that descent. And he's just absolutely going to plummet, hit rock bottom, and then, over the course of the next year or two, it's going to be this. He's going to come back around and find his way. And I love this up and down, this heel and face arc that we've been on, this ride that we've been on with Seth Rollins for the last 5 or so years. It's fantastic. And this is just another valley in that long wave.
And as we've said, his heel work right now is superlative.
Yeah. His
promos, everything's off the charts. So loving what he's doing.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the big moment of the night, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
The simultaneous corporate ladder Money in the Bank match. The men, represented by Daniel Bryan, Otis, Baron Corbin, Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles, all starting off in the gym for some reason on the first floor of Titan Towers.
Yeah.
All the women, represented by Lacey Evans, Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Carmella, Dana, and Nia Jax, all starting in the lobby. I should say that 5 of them started in the lobby. Asuka started on the balcony above them. First thing she does is splash all the women in the lobby, and then run off cackling to the elevator, dance off to the elevator, and barely gets away in the elevator, and there's dancing up the whole way in the elevator, which just, from the get-go, Asuka killing this thing.
Yep.
So this is going to be tough to run down, Nick, because it was just a lot of stuff happened. A lot of things happened in this match. It was very chaotic. Everyone was fighting all over the building. A bunch of big moments, but whether it was Otis trapping AJ under a pull-up, under a weightlifting bar. Baron Corbin threw a weight through a mirror. You had AJ come face to face with a big picture of the Undertaker and look absolutely terrified. And then Aleister Black locks him in a blue colored room, like a blue lit, dark lit room with a casket in it. And AJ's like, "No, let me out! Oh God!" Just all kinds of madness. Dana Brooke getting hit with a sign and then wearing the sign for most of the rest. Dana had a bunch of pratfalls in this. There was a floor that a guy was mopping. She came along and just took a big spill on this floor after all the other women had run through it. There was a food fight in the middle. Paul Heyman was enjoying the entire catering buffet to himself. And then everyone lines up in front of it, starts yelling at each other, and Otis suddenly freaks out and says, "Food fight." And they have a big food fight because Vince loves food fights.
Yeah. I could watch Otis eat 24 hours a day.
You might get your opportunity because Vince apparently thinks Otis loves to eat, because Otis also showed up in the cafeteria where they had a bunch of nuts that he tried to throw into his mouth, and they also had a bunch of custard cream pies. And John Laurinaitis shows up, and Otis smashes a pie in his face, which was one of my highlights. Oh, I'm going back to it.
We got to talk about the Bruce Pritchard Brother Love cameo that showed
Brother
up.
Love's in the bathroom for some reason.
Taking a whiz just for no reason.
Yeah. All right. Looking like he ate Bruce Pritchard.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, there's a big. Okay, at one point, AJ and Daniel Bryan are fighting down a hallway, and as you would expect, as they pretty much signaled to us, yes, we ended up in Vince McMahon's office, and the boss man was sitting there. And turning around and go, "Hey, what you doing?"
I had to pause it for a minute and check out the glorious T-Rex skull.
The T-Rex skull.
Oh, yeah. Fossil, I should say, not skull.
And they both kind of like, oh, sorry, boss. Got very quiet, rearranged his chairs, and kind of like slowly, meekly backed out, like Japanese bowing on the way. Daniel Bryan Japanese bowing on the way out. And then outside is like,
all I could think about during the whole thing is I want a WWE Cannonball Run movie.
Yeah, right. It's a mad world.
Felt like the whole time was just, it made me. I'm gonna go on a Dom DeLuise marathon this week and just watch all the Cannonball Runs, and just listen. This was so much fun. It was athletic. It was stunty, and it was silly, and it was exactly what I had hoped it would be. And the one gripe that I have is I don't like the times when the men met the women and they were both kind of fighting at the same time. I wish they had kept that a little bit separate because it confused all of the moments and everything that was going on. They could have had one. They could have all run in and maybe got into the food fight thing, and then they split off and go again.
It made it seem chaotic. It made it seem chaotic, and that I didn't mind. The moment where the men came spilling out of the elevator and the women were expecting Asuka to come out, and they were all like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
that was a good moment. Like Here's the thing. For me, like, there were moments that worked. There were moments that didn't. Yeah. Doink the Clown, or some guy dressed up like Doink the Clown, hiding behind a chair
for no reason.
Did not work. Dana Brooke pulling down a Money in the Bank briefcase replica in a conference room, and then cutting to Stephanie McMahon, who was obviously in a completely different location, not talking to her at all.
Miming to an iPhone camera.
Dana, can't you tell we're actually in the boardroom, not on the roof? That moment was terrible. Probably the low point of the whole thing. Made Dana look like a complete buffoon. It undercut some of the production, which already was a little bit spotty for $1 billion company. Right. Frankly, to be clear. I
think in the Discord I said it looks like somebody, that Stephanie segment specifically, it was so the audio was so off on the two different clips that it, like, who's editing this in iMovie on their MacBook Pro, for God's sakes? That's
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to gripe about it too much, but because I mostly loved this. I
Well, they didn't
loved
beca- yeah, they
Stephanie
didn't- they
popping
didn't
up.
become-
I loved Vince
didn't-
popping up. I loved
Yes.
Brother Love. I loved Laurinaitis. Johnny Ace showing up on his scooter. Did he steal that from Zeb Coulter? Those of you that know. The idea that we had a bunch of these little cameos all throughout this thing, and it wasn't just the empty building after all. It was for the most part.
Yeah.
But they did involve recognizable people that those of us that have been wrestling fans for a long time would recognize. 3-4 decades were represented in these cameos. So I think it's like much like they did for the Firefly Funhouse match. One of the things that I remember hearkening back to was how much nostalgia they threw at us in that match. And in this one as well, it wasn't so much nostalgia as it was access, as it was, oh, I know who that is. I get that reference.
Yeah,
right?
I think they could. I mean, in that sense, they could have done more of that. But
Yeah.
again, I think part of it is they're working under constraints.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking was like, where's everyone in this building? Why does it feel so empty? But yet Vince is still working, which from what I understand, is actually how it works. Is everyone leaves and Vince is still there writing on his yellow tablet, which he was. But obviously they're under constraints. No one can be there right now. So it is what it is. I feel like there's some things I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. They gave us a lot here. This was very fun. It was fast paced. It was comedic. For better or for worse, I think some of the comedic stuff didn't make some of the people look good, but I don't think that's going to be something that is going to have long-term ramifications at all. The biggest gripe I had, Nick, was once we got to the roof, the women came first, and I had no problem with that. We'll talk about that in a second. But then the men got up there, and as was promised, people got thrown off the roof. Baron Corbin grabbed Rey Mysterio, hucked him over the side, and then grabbed Aleister Black and hucked him over the side too. And they just went over the side into the night. That was it.
Yep.
Nothing more dramatic than that. Baron Corbin just committed absolute freaking murder, and it was like someone farted in the wind.
Twice.
And it was gone.
Yep.
Twice in a row.
You can do
And
slow-mo
it wasn't
cameras on Miz and Morrison's entrance, but you can't have a camera in the right place to show them Hans Gruber style falling in slow motion.
You got a chopper flying around outside getting amazing shots of people climbing ladders and AJ doing phenomenal forearms, but you can't get someone falling. Like I don't know if they had a net right underneath to catch them set up, or if they actually did a 7-story drop, which is feasible too. They're not stuntmen, so probably not. I'm guessing there was a net. If that's the case, then yeah, that's probably the best angle they could have gotten. But if you're going to toss someone off a damn roof, that was probably the most underwhelming, uninspired way to do it I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Like for what was supposed to be a huge spot for what they got us all frothing for, that was terrible.
Yep.
Terrible.
Yep.
I was pissed.
Yep.
I'm like, that's stupid. And also, it's paid so little attention to. You just hucked 2 humans off of a 7-story building. They're dead. Unless you explain why they're not. This isn't AJ climbing out of a grave. Okay, maybe he sat up out of the dirt as soon as the camera cut. This is 2 guys got hucked off a 7-story building. You got to do more than that.
So real quick, I got to break in, call out some super chats. Esme with $5 says she's got Rat Race flashbacks watching this. Guilty movie pleasure. Yes. Yes,
There's
exactly.
a remake of Mad World.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Line Drive said, hey, for $5, said, hey, WWE, if you want to do a Cannonball Run match, we got a patron mailbag where we booked it. Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Good.
Thank you
we could
guys
have gone
very
deeper on it
much.
if we wanted to. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
I feel
So
like
was it-
they filmed those separately and they were edited in, and that's why they felt a little bit awkward. But I agree with you. There was no excuse not to show anything more than them just disappearing into the darkness, because you could have faked that.
Especially if you're shooting it separately. It looked like they edited the end of this together in a couple of different takes. Especially if you're going to take your time to go do that, then do it. Do it right.
Yeah.
No excuse.
Yeah.
No excuses. But let's get to the actual ending of the matches. The women get to the roof, and it's a 3-way scrum between Asuka, Nia Jax, and Lacey. Dana, Carmella, and Shayna are nowhere to be seen, and they're never seen again, which I want to talk about in a second. 3-way scrum. Looks like it could go any direction. Can't quite tell. But ultimately, you've got Asuka going up to the top. Corbin ends up showing up to stop her. Everyone else is laid out. Corbin shows up to stop her. Asuka smacks him off the ladder and takes the briefcase. In probably the biggest pop I gave of the night.
Wasn't expecting that.
Asuka winning this. I was not expecting Asuka to win, nor did I expect her to deck Baron Corbin to do so. Mwah. Love it. Love it. I did not think they were going to give Asuka the briefcase. That was not on my radar.
No.
And I'm so glad they did. But what do you okay, so Nia and Lacey, the other two favorites, were up there with Asuka. So that makes sense. Why? And Dana and Carmella not being there makes sense. Shayna not being there. Let's talk about that, because Shayna was my pick and someone who has been built up as being a threat. She had a chronicle on the WWE Network about how she was going to win Money in the Bank right before this. And she wasn't even involved in the finish. Do you think that she wasn't involved in the finish, Nick, because they were trying to keep her from being beaten directly? And she was somewhere else. She didn't lose to Asuka because she wasn't on the roof. Had she been there, maybe she'd have been a factor like that still. Or her not being there is them saying, yeah, we don't care about Shayna.
No, I think this was less about Shayna and more about making Asuka look like the Roadrunner being chased by a bunch of Wile E. Coyotes. It's Asuka was trying to get away from everybody from the start. Like she splashed onto him and then ran into the elevator by herself and got a big head start. The fact that it took Lacey and Nia that long, Dana was still hugging that briefcase full of money and rapping with Stephanie, but
had a painting wrapped around her head.
Right. And so I think the thing that confuses me is that, or you asked a specific question about Shayna. The reason I didn't pick either one of these ladies is because I don't think they need it to be a threat or a challenger for the championship.
Oh, Asuka doesn't.
Neither does Shayna. It was right there. Barely didn't win the Royal Rumble,
I'll back your play on this and say that Shayna doesn't need it because she still has championship potential, whereas Asuka has been in the feud a couple of times, and now she can be a spoiler for the rest of the year and coming out of nowhere and take it, and that can be fun.
I don't want her. I don't want her to even care about getting the title back. I just want crazy screaming in Japanese Asuka continuing to run around for the remainder of the entirety of the year. Like if she cashes in before SummerSlam, I'll be disappointed.
What's amazing, Nick, is if you go back and listen to the first year of our show, we were asking for this Asuka that entire time.
Yep.
We asked specifically for this Asuka, and here she is. And WWE loves her. The fans love her. She has been the MVP of this whole situation ever since the audiences went away. And she was the MVP of this Money in the Bank match, if I can throw that opinion out there.
Absolutely.
But again, I just worry that Shayna not being there might be another indicator that the brass is down on her, even though they gave her a chronicle right before this. So I don't know. That concerned me a bit.
Yeah.
But still think Asuka was a great choice to get the briefcase.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for her arms to be flailing around, just baka, 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 with that briefcase, and just, it's going to be magic. It's going to be absolute magic, because I could buy her as a face or a heel at this point, frankly.
That's the question. Next question I had is: is she going to get too over and get turned back face by just being too awesome?
She's getting to tweener status right now, because if you've got Bayley on one side and you've got Becky on the other side, and I could see her going and cashing in on either one of them, honestly.
Oh, you're right. But someone who was not a tweener won the men's Money in the Bank briefcase, and this was also thanks, Nick. This was also a quite a big surprise because, as I said, Ray and Aleister Black are dead. So you're down to Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, Otis. And, I got to say, dude, let's see. And Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened to Daniel Bryan at the end?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember what happened to him. Anyway, he wasn't really involved. He wasn't he was ringside, but he didn't really factor into the end, did he? But the real end came between AJ and Baron Corbin. He got on the top of the ladder, both grabbed the briefcase. AJ unhooked it, and then Elias comes out of nowhere, smashes a guitar over Corbin's back. Corbin falls off the ladder. AJ thinks he's got it, but in the confusion, he loses his grip on it because his gloves aren't sticky gloves like catchers wear. They're not Ricky Henderson gloves, and it goes flying out of his hands. And who's down there at the bottom? But a man who could not climb the ladder because he kept breaking the rungs, not only on SmackDown, but on this match, He couldn't climb the ladder. He's standing right there. Boop, falls right into Otis's hands.
Love it.
And Otis is the winner of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Out of nowhere. What?
I understand there are going to be purists that are very upset about this. I understand.
AJ unhooked it. AJ unhooked it. It should be AJ.
However, this, in the situation, in the climate that we're all currently in, Otis and Mandy has been since the start of the year the hottest thing on SmackDown going today. And now you've got Otis with the Money in the Bank contract alongside Mandy Rose in a extremely heated feud in the women's division with Mandy and Sonya. Then there's Dolph Ziggler off to the side. This is, I loved this. The more I thought about it after the show, I was like, it's perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Just because exactly like Asuka, you're going to have Otis, oh yeah, running around Kool-Aid Man, Macho Man style, and just flailing that briefcase around.
They didn't do the Kool-Aid Man spot in this, which I thought was a shame.
He oh-yeah-ed quite a few times.
He oh-yeah-ed, but he's always oh-yeah-ed. He didn't oh-yeah through a wall.
Where's
That's a
Tucky?
That was my question.
If you remember, I said this after Elimination Chamber. If they're not careful, Tucky, who was the one that was performing, was the one that was going to get left behind.
We've said this since NXT. Since NXT, we said Tucky's the Jannetty. Tucker is great. He is all the talent in the world, but Otis is the star attraction here. And Vince finally got himself a hard-on for Otis, and now Otis is getting the push. Now, not to say he doesn't deserve it. He absolutely does. But Vince sees a dude who can wrestle, who is fun to look at, can pull off anything you give him in terms of a bit. He can also be serious. He can look like he's intimidating. He can entertain the crowd. And Vince can have fun with him. He's down to clown, but he looks like he's legitimate. So, of course, Vince is looking at this guy going, hell yeah, screw it. Why not? Let's give him Money in the Bank, see what happens.
Yep. Let's see what happens. I love that attitude. Let's see what happens. Can he deliver? Give him enough leash to, what do they say? Enough rope to hang yourself with, right? Enough leash to. Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that. Give Otis a shot because he has delivered consistently since this whole thing with Mandy actually fired up and got some legs underneath it.
Right.
So let's ride that horse till we can't,
So let's look at this overall. Great for Otis, great for Asuka. I would say also you had Baron Corbin being involved in a lot of it, and Nia. They kind of played the same role in each of their parts of the match, or they're the big heater. But then you had people that were just kind of there. Dana had a lot to do, but Carmella didn't really have squat to do. Shayna didn't have jack to do. She was choking out Rey Mysterio at one point, but that was about it. Rey Mysterio didn't have a lot to do except for, take AJ out at the one, or say no, I'm not going to help you to AJ, and then meet Brother Love. That was pretty much Rey's involvement. Yeah. And then get thrown off a roof. Aleister Black locked AJ in a room and got thrown off the roof. He didn't do shit. So there was a lot of people in this. Daniel Bryan, even, except for his little bit with AJ in Mr. McMahon's office, there's a lot of people in this match that were just kind of there. And I don't know whether to be mad about that or if that's just the nature of the match. Like, some people are going to get bigger spots than others. Don't despair. At least they were in the match. And that's kind of, I'm trying to keep myself positive about it and think about it in that way and not be like, why didn't you give more love to my boy Aleister? Brrr! Looking at it at the end, Asuka and Otis have the briefcase. It was madness. It was a crazy match. Maybe a little heavy on the comedy. Maybe not the best production values. But damn if it wasn't entertaining.
Yep. And Esme in the chat just said something that I was going to say here in a second too. I'm waiting for Otis to spend his contract in order for Mandy to get a title shot. And I'm wondering if they can spend that. It would be brilliant.
Oh, dude.
And then,
Esme also with
she turns on him.
Esme also with the $2 in the super chat. Filthy casuals might never like Shayna. Thank you, Esme.
I've been saying that. Like when she goes up, she's kind of a one-trick pony. She's got a choke out, and she's got
filthy casuals and Vince.
Yep.
No, but she looks more legitimate than anyone. God damn. Nick, you filthy casual.
You think that? The greater WWE audience does not. They want to see giant superplexes and fancy wrestling moves and things like that.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why Nia Jax gets a push, Nick. That's why Nia Jax gets a push.
That's not why Nia Jax gets a push.
This is why you get Nia Jax, Nick, because she's believable. People look at her and they have a response. We're not going to do this right now. Okay, so neither of us got anything right here on this match, which is a good thing. This match is supposed to be unpredictable, supposed to be crazy. One last thing just about AJ. Did they redeem the AJ Taker thing at all by having him now be like terrified of Taker?
Like have PTSD sort of thing?
Yeah, PTSD.
I love when he was looking at the Rey Mysterio and he punched the Rey Mysterio on the wall and he turns around and gong and it's a big Taker coming down the ramp at WrestleMania poster wall art. I want that wall art, by the way. If anybody knows where to get that, Jesus Christ, I would love to get a reprint of that.
Next time you get a tour at Titan Towers, just grab it and run.
No, I would legit buy one today if somebody knew where to get one of those reprints. Anyway,
AJ's just going to become an acronym, AJ PTSD.
And then he's looking for Ray. He opens the door, and it's just smoke and blue, and a coffin's in there for no reason. There's a coffin in Titan Towers in a room.
Doink was hiding behind a chair. Stephanie McMahon was randomly standing against a wall where we couldn't see her when they entered the room in a conference chamber for no other reason than, why not? She just lives there. Anyway.
Here's the last little thing.
Madness.
The last little thing I want to say as we're closing things out here. Those of you that have been along for the ride since Aleister Black was in NXT, and one of the things that we speculated on was if they nail him, and I'm going to say I speculated on it because I don't know whether you agreed with this or not, I feel like Aleister could become the next sort of Undertaker style of figure, an undead warlock kind of character, that had supernatural powers and all of that with his rise from the grave entrance and all of that. They've mostly botched it to this point. You've just killed him.
Yep.
Resurrect his
Now
ass.
is your opportunity.
Now you can do it. Oh my God, you have such a golden opportunity here. Please don't mess
Ray.
it up.
What are you gonna? But you got Ray's dead now too. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna resurrect him?
Resurrect. Okay. Ba-dum-bum. Listen, Ray has had his career. He's in his twilight.
So he's dead. So he's dead.
So stay off. If you're gonna go out. Get hucked.
You even listen. You even think about what you say before you say
get hucked. If you're gonna go out, get hucked off of the top of WWE headquarters. God. What a way to go out.
Most ignominious way ever. Just
no. I want to see Ray gone for a little bit. But right now, you've got an opportunity that you. By the way, we've all said we hated that AJ Styles just showed back up on Raw with no pomp and circumstance. He was just, I drove here. I was fine. You've now got an opportunity. You got a second chance at this with Aleister Black. Don't do the same thing, please.
No, he didn't look at all supernatural in this whole match. Him being in this match and just kind of being a body there, I think has shown that's not how they perceive him. So I don't think they're going to make him supernatural. Sorry, Nick.
They could.
Let's talk about overall on the pay-per-view though. What overall thoughts? Was the length 2.5 hours of the actual main show? Was that a plus or a minus? Did you like the breezy nature of it, or do you think they needed another half an hour, or like 4 hours like we were getting last year?
I'm torn. I feel a little like we got all of our title defenses. I'm disappointed we didn't get the other titles like the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title, and the Raw tag titles on a pay-per-view. But I'm sitting. Part of me's going, shit. I kind of like a 2-hour pay-per-view. Is this why we all liked TakeOver so much? Because we didn't feel so worn down by the time we got to 4 or 5 hours of show? I'm torn. I don't know how I feel yet about one way or the other. I think I need a couple of days to digest, but I'm not that disappointed enough in seeing I think the other superstars might have gotten cheated a little bit out of some pay-per-view money, but maybe that's it. That's the only thing I'd be really upset about. I like the 2.5 hour format. I think it works.
Right. Yeah, I thought the breeziness of it was nice. I didn't mind it. I certainly don't need to watch a 4-hour pay-per-view every time there's a pay-per-view. No. I've definitely I thought it was good. The unfortunate thing is they have such a huge roster and there's so much going on that it does mean a lot of people don't get opportunities. So that's the downside for me of something short like this. But at least in terms of, my time and my day, and they can pack more entertainment into a shorter period of time, that I'm not mad at. But overall, Nick, positive or negative feelings on this pay-per-view? Like what grade would you give it?
B-
at the end of the day. B-.
The second half of the show, solid. Like the money on the roof, solid. Loved it. Enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a lot of fun. mixture of popcorn fodder, some comedy, some nostalgia, some action. I mean, hell, who can be mad about seeing people get hucked off the roof? 2 of them.
Me, because it looked like shit. It meant nothing. I can get mad at it.
I
just
saw
got mad at it.
Aleister
I'm gonna
Black
stay mad at it.
full speed run,
Stupid.
get Olayed by Baron Corbin, yeeted right off the roof. And he's wee. So I can't be too mad.
Split second that you could see him get yeeted before he falls into blackness and then nothing. We have no idea what happened.
Well, I mean, he is Aleister Black, so.
Horseshit.
I think
it's more exciting to watch frogs mate. It was terrible. It was a horrible spot.
I think the Fatal 4-Way tag match unfortunately got spoiled on Friday. Had they not done that 8-man tag and just had them come out and promo at each other, maybe get physical.
Oh no!
What?
Oh no! Sorry, I'm sorry, Nick. I glanced over at the chat and someone's putting some evil on us in there.
Uh-oh. What? Who?
Someone's saying Ray's dead. Put the mask on Dominic.
Oh, listen. If Dominic comes out masked,
no,
we are officially going on a mole hunt because somebody's been listening.
No. All right, we're ending this. We got to end this before this goes any further.
Solid B minus for me. The
B minus.
The Smackdown Tag Championship, the Lashley R-Truth, and the Tamina Bailey thing just all fell flat right there in the middle of the show. But the back 9 was fantastic.
I thought more highly of the R-Truth Lashley thing than you did, but at the same time, I thought it was just a show. Yeah. It was there. Nothing to stand out, but the Money in the Bank match was insanity. Certainly, we have not seen a whole lot of things like it ever, if ever. And for better or for worse, 2 people won that we can't complain about. I'm not mad at either winner, and honestly, given some of the decisions made in the past, that says a lot.
You know what I will say here at the end as well is I feel like I was cheated out of a traditional ladder match that we're used to having at Money in the Bank. Even though I loved what they gave us, one of the big things we always look forward to at Money in the Bank is that ladder match.
Yeah.
For a good, solid 30 to 60 minutes of guys just getting fall spots on just ladders everywhere. Yeah. We didn't.
I know
really
how
get
you
that.
are, Nick. If you don't have at least 4 or 5 spots where people just agonizingly slowly crawl up a ladder, it's not a ladder match for you.
It's not the crawling up, it's the falling off that I miss.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was a pay-per-view. Yeah. It happened. It was not bad.
No.
That's probably the best thing we can say about it.
No.
And the right people have the briefcases. I'm actually excited to see where we go from here with a lot of the things I set up on the show, and that's also something that's good to say about it. Yeah. So there you go. So that just happened. It was madness, and more madness will be coming tomorrow on Monday Night Raw. Come back and check in with us on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, as we go live here on YouTube to talk about the fallout from Money in the Bank. And, of course, we'll be back with our regular show next Saturday as well to talk about everything else that happened during the week. But we hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed Money in the Bank. Nick, take us home.
Yeah, guys. Join us in Facebook. Find us on Discord, bwopodcast.com, Twitter and Instagram at bwopodcast. Patreon.com/BWO. Sign up for one of those awesome reward tiers. It is the best way to support the show. Thank you to all of our phenomenal ones, and thank you to everybody that joined us here live, both in the Discord for Money in the Bank tonight, as well as here in the chat for the after show and the after party. Thank you guys for all of the love and the support. We really appreciate it. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at Data Center Dude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God!
Somebody stop the damn match!
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.